The council chamber was suffused with a heavy silence, broken only by the quiet shuffle of feet and the occasional clearing of a throat. The circular table, scarred and worn from years of debate and disagreement, was surrounded by the colony's most powerful and contentious figures. Alara Voss stood just beyond the circle, her hands folded calmly in front of her. The dim light cast long shadows across the faces of the faction leaders, each marked by fatigue, suspicion, and the weight of recent strife. Councillor Thane Rykov, his imposing frame silhouetted against the stark walls, sat rigidly at the head of the table. His sharp gaze flicked with barely concealed disdain as he glanced at Ithra, the scientist who had appended his carefully maintained order with her cryptic transmission and unrelenting insistence on truth. The murmurs of dissent had begun to swell as the meeting started, but Alara raised a hand, her voice cutting through the tension with a clarity that demanded attention. "We stand at a crossroads," she began, her eyes sweeping the room, meeting the wary gazes of every leader. "The transmission we have uncovered is not a threat from within, but a warning from the stars. We cannot afford to fracture further. If we do, we risk losing everything." Myra Solon, seated to Alara's left, nodded encouragingly. Her presence was a balm to the room, a reminder of the cooperative faction that had long advocated for unity despite overwhelming odds. Myra's optimism was infectious, her bright eyes shining with pragmatic hope as she added, "We must find common ground. Our survival depends on it." Captain Soren Hale, standing slightly apart with his arms crossed, weighed Illyra's words carefully. His loyalty to the colony's security was unwavering, yet he recognized the necessity of this fragile alliance. "We can no longer view each other as enemies," he admitted, voice low but resolute. "The threat is greater than any factional dispute." Councillor Rykov's lips pressed into a thin line, the battle between his ambition and the colony's needs playing out silently across his expression. After a long moment, he spoke, voice cold but measured. "This truce is temporary. Order must be restored, and that means control. But for now, we will listen." The room exhaled collectively, the tension easing just enough to allow a tentative consensus to form. Outside the chamber, Mira moved through the gathered colonists, her presence a steadying force amid swirling fears. The colony's fractured society looked to her and Alara as beacons of hope, their alliance a fragile thread woven through the fabric of uncertainty. Her whispered reassurances and firm resolve helped quell the rising panic, reminding all that cooperation was the only path forward. In the security briefing room, Alara and Captain Hale stood side by side, poring over maps illuminated by flickering halo screens. The transmission's decoded data revealed coordinates and instructions that could alter the colony's fate. Their collaboration was tentative but growing in trust, bridging the gap between military pragmatism and scientific inquiry. Each shared discovery reinforced the possibility of survival and the hope of rekindling lost connections. Meanwhile, in the solitude of his quarters, Councillor Rykov stared out at the colony beneath the twin moons. The vast silence of space seemed to echo his internal conflict. The fragile truce weighed heavily on him, a reminder that control was slipping through his fingers. Yet beneath his cold exterior, a reluctant acceptance stirred. The colony needed unity, even if it meant sharing power. As the meeting adjourned, Alara lingered, gazing out at the colony skyline. The fragile truce was but a first step, a delicate balance of trust and necessity. She knew the road ahead would be perilous, fraught with challenges both political and cosmic. But, for the first time in many cycles, a pulse of hope stirred within her, hope that even in silence, connection might endure. The colony had taken its first tentative step toward survival and rediscovery. The stars were still distant and quiet, but in the hearts of those who remained, a fragile light flickered stubbornly on, and somewhere, beyond the cosmic void, the transmission waited to be fully understood. Elara's voice, steady and unwavering, would be the beacon to guide them through the darkness. But the question remained, could the fragile truce hold long enough to confront the unknown? The silence had been broken, but the true journey was only beginning. Councillor Thane Rykov sat alone in the shadowed recesses of the council chamber, the low hum of the colony's power grid barely penetrating the thick walls. His sharp gaze flicked over the array of datapads before him, fragmented reports, intercepted communiques, and coded messages from loyalists scattered throughout the colony. The metallic clink of a pad snapping shut echoed in the silence as he leaned forward, fingers steepled with cold intent. The fragile alliance among factions, sparked by the transmission's revelations, was a threat to his hold on power. He would not allow it to endure. Outside, the colony was restless. The uneasy peace brokered after the decoding of the cosmic transmission had begun to fray. Rykov's loyalists whispered in shadowed corners, sowing seeds of mistrust and stoking old grievances. Rumors of sabotage and betrayal spread like wildfire through the narrow corridors and cramped living quarters. Rykov's voice, measured, authoritative, was a bomb for those fearful of change, a clarion call to those who still valued order above all else. In the central plaza, beneath the pale glow of artificial lights and the ever-watchful stars beyond the colony dome, Dr. Elara Voss stood before a gathering of settlers. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, eyes sharp and steady, reflecting the resolve burning within her. The murmuring crowd hushed as she began to speak, her voice cutting through the tension. "We are at a crossroads," Elara said, her tone calm yet urgent. "The message we uncovered is more than a warning. It is an opportunity. To survive, to rebuild, we must stand together. Division will only hasten our downfall." Her words hung in the air, met with a mixture of hope and skepticism. Some faces brightened with the promise of unity, others narrowed with suspicion. The scars of factional conflict were still raw, and the shadow of Rykov's influence loomed large. Meanwhile, in the narrow corridors that threaded through the colony's core, Mira Solon conferred quietly with Captain Soren Hale. Mira's bright eyes were steady despite the weight of responsibility pressing on her shoulders. Hale's broad frame and stern expression conveyed both skepticism and a grudging respect for the fragile alliance they now defended. "We have to move quickly," Mira whispered, voice low but firm. "Rykov's reach is deeper than we anticipated. We need to secure key supply points and communicate openly with the factions willing to cooperate." Hale nodded grimly. "Security forces are stretched thin. We'll need volunteers, people who believe in more than just survival, people willing to fight for something better." Their whispered strategizing was underscored by the distant rumble of faction clashes' sharp shouts, the crack of makeshift weapons, the uneasy trample of hurried footsteps. The colony's fragile peace was unraveling, thread by thread. As dusk settled, a sudden, violent explosion shattered the uneasy calm. Flames erupted from a supply depot near the residential sectors, casting flickering shadows that danced across the anxious faces of bystanders. The acrid scent of smoke filled the air, mingling with the rising cries of alarm and confusion. Rykov's message was clear. The seeds of rebellion had been sown, and the colony's fragile social order teetered on the brink of collapse. In the flame's glow, Ilara's resolve hardened. She would not allow fear and division to consume them. The path ahead would be perilous, but hope, fragile, flickering, still burned. Back in his hidden chamber, Rykov allowed himself a thin, tight smile. The pieces were moving as he intended. The colony would fracture, and from the chaos, he would rise again, stronger, unchallenged. But he underestimated the resilience of those who dared to dream beyond the silence. Elara, Myra, and Captain Hale gathered their allies, ready to face the storm. The coming days would demand sacrifices, courage, and unwavering trust. The battle for the colony's soul was just beginning. And amidst the looming darkness, a single, unyielding truth remained. Even in the depths of rebellion, the human spirit could not be silenced. The colony held its breath, teetering on the edge, waiting to see if unity could overcome the seeds of rebellion, or if the silence would shatter into chaos once more. "We stand together," Elara said quietly to Myra as they prepared for the coming confrontation. "Because if we don't, there will be nothing left to save." The night stretched on, heavy with uncertainty, but the first faint threads of dawn shimmered on the horizon, fragile yet undeniable. The fight was far from over. The low hum of the colony's aging power grid mingled with the soft flicker of holographic stars suspended in the strategy room. Dr. Elara Voss stood at the center, her sharp eyes scanning the intricate constellation of points and lines glowing before her. The new map, painstakingly constructed from the decoded transmission, pulsed quietly with promise and peril. A thin bead of sweat traced down her temple despite the cool, recycled air, a testament to the mounting weight of responsibility resting on her shoulders. Around her, the core team gathered, each member reflecting the gravity of the moment in their posture and expressions. Myra Solon, ever the pragmatist with a spark of unyielding optimism, stood beside Elara, fingers interlaced as she absorbed the details. Captain Soren Hale, his military bearing tempered by recent alliances, scrutinized the data with a mixture of skepticism and resolve. Jox Wren lingered near the back, arms folded, his weather-beaten face shadowed by the faint light, but betraying a flicker of hope. Elara's voice broke the charged silence. "This is what we have. The coordinates point beyond our known sectors, a location where the transmission source may still be active. It's our best chance at understanding the blackout and possibly re-establishing contact." She gestured at the holographic map, zooming in on a cluster of stars and dark voids. "We don't know what awaits us there. It could be another outpost, a distress beacon, or something entirely new. But we can't afford to ignore it." Mira stepped forward, her voice steady despite the tension. "We'll need support from every faction. Resources, personnel, security. This mission is more than exploration. It's a statement that we're united in purpose." Captain Hale's gaze hardened, and yet we face resistance. Rykov won't sanction this. He sees it as a threat to his control. Jox's voice cut in, low and gravelly. "I've been tracking underground chatter. Rykov's loyalists are already mobilizing. We'll need to move quickly and quietly." The room shifted as the harsh reality settled in. The mission was a gamble, not just against the unknowns of space, but against the fractures within their own colony. Later that day, Mira found herself in the council chamber, surrounded by faction leaders whose faces bore the scars of suspicion and desperation. The neon glow of malfunctioning overhead lights cast long shadows, mirroring the divisions that threatened to tear them apart. "Listen," Mira implored, her voice cutting through the murmurs. "We've lost contact with Earth. We're isolated, yes, but this transmission offers a path forward, not just for a few, but for all of us. Cooperation is our only chance to survive." Arguments flared, voices rising, But Myra's calm persistence began to weave threads of tentative agreement. The fragile trust she nurtured was a beacon amid the gathering storm. Meanwhile, in the hangar bay, Captain Hale paced alongside the transport vessel destined for the mission. Its sleek, utilitarian frame gleamed under harsh lights, a stark contrast to the worn machinery surrounding it. The hiss of hydraulics and clang of metal echoed like a heartbeat in the cavernous space. "This ship will get us there," Hale muttered to himself, running a gloved hand along the hull. "If we can hold it together long enough." Jox Wren appeared from the shadows, his quick smile fleeting. "Got some routes mapped out that'll help us avoid detection. Rykov's men won't see us coming." Their alliance, born of necessity rather than trust, was a microcosm of the larger coalition forming around Ilara's mission. Back in the strategy room, Ilara worked late into the night, her mind a storm of calculations and contingencies. The transmission's message, once a distant puzzle, now shaped the course of her world. Her fingers danced over the controls, adjusting parameters, plotting trajectories. A soft chime alerted her to a new data stream. A fragment of the transmission, previously undiscovered, flickering like a distant star. Her breath caught. Could this be a sign? A reassurance from the cosmos that their quest was not in vain? As dawn crept over the horizon of the colony planet, casting muted light through stained glass panels, Ilara allowed herself a moment of quiet hope. The new map was more than coordinates and codes. It was a symbol of their resilience, a fragile bridge across the void of silence. But the journey ahead was fraught with danger. The fractures within the colony threatened to shatter the fragile alliance before it could even begin. And lurking in the shadows, Councillor Rykov prepared his countermove, determined to maintain his grip on power at any cost. Ilara's eyes met mirrors across the room, a silent understanding passing between them. This was more than a mission. It was a turning point, a chance to redefine their fate. With a steadying breath, Ilara turned back to the map. The stars awaited, silent and eternal. But now, for the first time in a long while, they whispered of possibility. The colony's fragile hope was about to be tested. The command center buzzed softly with activity as Ilara Voss stood before the sprawling holographic map projected in midair. The cool blue light illuminated her face, shadows dancing beneath her sharp eyes as she traced the paths her team would take beyond the colony's borders. Myra Solon paced nearby, her bright eyes flickering with a mixture of excitement and cautious optimism, while Captain Soren Hale leaned against a console, arms crossed, his stern gaze fixed on the map. "We'll need to coordinate closely," Ilara said, her voice steady but carrying the weight of responsibility. "The terrain beyond the settlement is unforgiving. Environmental hazards, remnants of old outposts, we have to be prepared for anything." Myra nodded, her athletic frame taut with resolve. "Our people have survived worse. This mission could be the turning point we desperately need." Captain Hale's voice broke the momentary silence. "Security details are in place, but we all know the real threat isn't just the environment. We have factions here still wary of each other. We'll need to keep tensions low." Ilara glanced at him, appreciating his pragmatism. "That's why we're moving forward together. No more fractures, only cooperation." Across the colony, in a dimly lit workshop, cluttered with old equipment and patched communications gear, Jox Wren worked quietly. His weather-beaten face was etched with lines of hardship, but his eyes held a glimmer of something softer tonight. He slid a worn datapad across the table to Ilara when she arrived. "These are the routes we've been using to move goods and messages under the radar," he explained, voice low. "If we're going to get this mission off the ground, you'll need access to these channels." Alara took the datapad, fingers brushing his briefly. "Thank you, Jox. This could make all the difference." He shrugged, a hint of a reluctant smile tugging at his lips. "Don't thank me yet. Just don't get caught." Later that evening, in the quiet sanctuary of her modest quarters, Alara sat across from her sister Naomi. The tension that had accumulated over weeks of Alara's obsession with the transmission softened in the intimate space between them. Naomi's expressive eyes searched Alara's face. "You've been so distant," Naomi said gently. "I'm worried about you and about us." Alara's gaze dropped before she met her sister's again. "I know, I've been consumed by this. But it's not just about the signal. It's about hope, something to hold on to when everything else is falling apart." Naomi reached out, taking Alara's hand. "We need each other. Don't lose sight of that." Outside, in the grand hall where factions had gathered, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Representatives from opposing groups exchanged wary glances, their voices rising in heated debate. Yet beneath the clamor, a shift was palpable. Arguments gave way to tentative proposals, and grudging respect began to bridge old divides. Mira stood at the center, her voice calm but resolute. "This colony's survival depends on unity. The transmission offers us a chance not just to understand what's happened, but to build something new together." Councillor Thane Rykov's sharp gaze scanned the assembly, his imposing figure a reminder of the power struggles still simmering beneath the surface. Yet even he nodded slowly, the cold calculation in his eyes acknowledging the necessity of compromise. As the session drew to a close, Alara felt a surge of cautious hope. The lines of light projected around her seemed less like isolated points and more like threads weaving the colony's fractured society into a fragile tapestry of cooperation. The mission ahead was fraught with uncertainty and danger, but for the first time in a long while, the future felt within reach. She caught Mira's eye and smiled, a small, genuine expression that spoke of trust and shared purpose. Captain Hale approached, his usual stoicism softened by a rare warmth. "We'll need every ounce of strength and unity," he said quietly. "This mission will test us all." Alara nodded, feeling the weight of his words, but also the steady pulse of determination in her own heart. "Then let's make sure we're ready, for the colony, for each other, for whatever lies beyond the silence." As the night deepened, the colony stirred with preparation and whispered hopes. Lines of light crisscrossed the holographic map, paths charted with precision and care. Each line was a promiser, fragile bond born of resilience, cooperation, and the unyielding human spirit that refused to fade, even when the stars themselves seemed to go silent. The journey was just beginning. The dawn crept through the tall windows of the command center, casting long, soft shadows across the faces gathered within. Alara stood near the edge of the room, watching as technicians finalized the equipment checks. The hum of machinery blended with quiet conversations, plans exchanged, last-minute instructions given, nerves tempered with resolve. Myra approached, her presence steady and reassuring. "You're ready for this," she said simply. Alara smiled, a flicker of warmth breaking through her usual calm. "Ready enough." Captain Hale joined them, his gaze sweeping over the team assembled. "We'll move out in an hour. Stay sharp, trust each other." Alara's eyes met Myra's and then Hale's. In that moment, the weight of leadership settled fully on her shoulders. But it was tempered by the knowledge that she was not alone. The colony had fractured, faltered, and now, despite the shadows of fear and past betrayals, it was coming together. The lines of light, both literal and metaphorical, were drawing them toward a future uncertain but alive with possibility. And as the first rays of sunlight spilled across the rocky horizon, Alara took a deep breath, and stepped forward into the dawn of a new chapter. The glow of the holographic map faded as preparations moved to the landing bay. Vehicles and equipment gleamed under harsh artificial lights, their surfaces marked with the scars of past struggles, but polished with care. Voices rose in coordination and encouragement, the sounds of a community rallying around a shared mission. Jox Wren appeared at Ilara's side, his rugged features softened by a rare smile. "Looks like we've got a real chance," he said, nodding toward the assembled crew. Ilara met his gaze, the unspoken acknowledgement between them, a fragile but vital trust. "We do. Let's not waste it." The air was thick with anticipation, the weight of what was to come pressing down even as hope lifted hearts higher. The mission would test everything: their strength, their unity, their very will to survive. But in this moment, beneath the pale light of a distant sun, the colony stood ready to face the silence together. The lines of light had been drawn. Now it was time to follow them. The final scene unfolded as Ilara lingered near the edge of the landing bay, watching the vehicles begin to move, their engines humming a low, steady rhythm against the backdrop of the waking colony. Naomi approached quietly, her presence a balm to Ilara's restless spirit. "Be careful," Naomi whispered, her voice trembling with the weight of unspoken fears. Ilara reached out, taking her sister's hand in a rare gesture of vulnerability. "I will, and I'll come back." A moment passed between them, filled with a fragile hope that had become their lifeline. As the convoy disappeared into the rising sun, Ilara turned back toward the colony, heart pounding with a mixture of dread and determination. The journey ahead was uncertain, but the bonds forged in these lines of light would carry them through the darkness. The silence was no longer empty. It was filled with the promise of rediscovery, connection, and the enduring strength of the human spirit. The mission had begun,